Watches and Wonders 2023 was amazing for some and lackluster for others. Let's talk about it. First and foremost, let's start off with Rolex. Something I do have to commend Rolex is taking the chance in the first place. Their watches are more professional at the end of the day, and the fact that they decided to go with something a little more colorful and outside their comfort zone is something I do commend. The fact that it has emojis under the date wheel, words that don't really make sense in the first place under the date wheel. I mean, this watch is nothing really to be desired for. When the Rainbow Daytona did come out, it wasn't a watch that everybody wanted. Everybody was wondering, what is Rolex doing? I don't understand this. It was something different because that is not Rolex. Now, when I look at this watch, I see potential. I'm not saying that it's going to be, but I definitely see something in the reminiscent of the old Rainbow Daytona, which is now not only one of the biggest watches Rolex has ever released, but in general, one of the biggest watches around the world, and that is well known. Now for the tier list, I'm going to be placing this watch under category D. The reason why is because it's not for me in the first place. The watch itself, it's cool, but at the end of the day, it's not something I see myself wearing and others wearing it. Other than that, not really a watch for me. Now, sticking with the Rolex theme, the Platinum Daytona. I believe the Platinum Daytona this time around is something spectacular. It's a lot more modernized. It's a lot more sleeker in general compared to the vintage models. Not only that, it has a sapphire case back. The only thing I don't like about this watch is the lip bezel. Basically, around the bezel, there is some framing, right? Of course, it's going to be platinum because it is the Platinum Daytona. Now, with older Speedmasters, it did have that lip around, and what I noticed that when you ding it or when you hit it, it is going to take away from the overall shape of the watch itself. I believe the same thing could happen like the Omega Speedmaster if the user mishandles the watch. Now, at the end of the day, I believe this is going to be more of a collector's item. People are going to be wanting to hold it in a safe more than likely. Now, something I wish Rolex did with the lower end models is putting a sapphire case back. Now, I understand Rolex is barely putting this out, but I do want to see something in the lower end, such as the stainless steel model with a sapphire case back, knowing that Rolex is looking out for the end consumer at the end of the day. I see Rolex putting these sapphire casebacks more in the higher end items such as the yellow gold, such as platinum, such as rose gold, things of that nature. Now, in a couple years, will it go to that point where it's in the stainless steel? I'm sure it will be, but as of right now, that's not something that's really happening. Overall, I do get the Platinum Daytona in A. The reason why is because I believe the S tier for me for a Daytona is going to be the full ice blue, diamond out dial. I believe that Platinum Daytona is top tier. At the end of the day, it is a Platinum Daytona. It's going to be legendary whether you're rocking the one with diamonds or without. Now let's talk about Tudor, sister brand of Rolex. When we're looking at Tudor, Tudor has been doing absolutely amazing with its releases, making the movements smaller, thinner, even better than ever before, even more accurate at that case. Because they are starting to make a factory of their own, they're able to manufacture these watches at a much better quality than ever before. People are even comparing it now to Omega, which I will get into a separate video at that point. But for now, they're doing amazing with their movements. I like their watches. Now, the Black Bay 54 is going to be a classic watch. Everybody knows the Black Bay. At the end of the day, it's going to be a smaller fork factor, better for women, better for smaller statured men. I'm not going to be wearing something like that. I am standing at 6'2", more on the bigger side. A small watch like that at 37 millimeters is not going to be something I'm going to be wearing. I am going to be giving it a B. The reason why is because personally, I don't see it fitting for my style, but for women and smaller statured men, I would definitely give it an A. It's an absolutely amazing piece, and I cannot wait to see what Tudor has lined up later on. Now let's talk about the GMT. Opaline dial, absolutely amazing. It gives me more 4th of July, if anything, if you're in the States, but at the end of the day, it does look amazing. It is going back to that Rolex albino look that is very, very rare. Now, the only thing that I don't really like about the GMT is not the look, it's going to be the case. It is going to be a thicker case. Now that I see Tudor with its movements being made in its own factory, with the new Black Bay coming out in a smaller form factor in terms of thickness, I believe this is going to be something that the GMT is going to be able to have later on in the future, not right now. The reason why is because they want still the end consumer to have something to look forward to, and it's going to be very difficult to start manufacturing all of these movements all at once, so we cannot expect too much. But I do expect Tudor to come in a lower form factor for the GMT and all the other model ranges. Now, outside of Tudor, we're going to go to Cartier. Cartier is doing an amazing job with their watches. I absolutely love the Santos Dumont at the moment. The fact that they were able to fit an airplane as the micro rotor of the Dumont is insane to me. The watch itself is spectacular, all yellow gold with the blue. It does fit perfect with the actual style of the watch. It is tastefully done at the end of the day, and I'm going to be giving this watch an A. Now let's look at IWC. IWC has came out again with the re-release of, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, the Ingenieur. Now in my opinion, this watch is absolutely classy. It's giving Geo Genta looks. Amazing watch. The only thing I don't like is going to be that price point that everybody's talking about, 11.7 USD. That is not something that in the bracket, something that I'm going to be able to really want, because there are so many other competing watches within that price range that are just so much better, even cheaper at that point. Tudor is coming out with watches that are under 5K that are absolutely competitors to this. Now what I wish IWC would have done is give something for the collectors, give their fans something that they were really wanting at the end of the day, bring them back into that community. I didn't see that happening here, not because the watch is ugly or because it's out of style. I believe it's because of that price point. Now, if IWC was to re-release this watch at a lower price point, I see everybody going crazy over this watch. I see this thing selling out all over the place, even having markups in the gray market, if I'm being honest with you. Now, because of that higher price point, I don't see that happening at all. I am going to be giving it a C. If the price point was better, I'll give it an honest A. Outside of IWC, let's talk about Oris. Oris is coming out with the Kermit. This watch is absolutely horrendous, if I'm being honest with you. The green is super in at the moment, but this green is, honestly, I can't even describe it. Now, Oris is a brand that's used to making beautiful watches at the end of the day. We're talking about the big crown, stuff like that, with the beautiful, turquoise blue dial that is absolutely to die for. This watch is not it for me. The green on the dial is not something that I really like. Something like the seaweed is absolutely amazing because it is on a darker green. I believe the darker greens are going to be something that's going to be a lot more wearable. This light green, not something that I see people wearing in the first place. Honestly, a regular day wheel would have been perfectly fine. The Kermit just adds a more toyish feel to the watch. Let's talk about the Tag Heuer Carrera. The new Tag Heuer Carrera is absolutely amazing, especially with that tourbillon in the dial as well. Something I wish they did was have more Panda releases. At the end of the day, it was very limited. I believe it did sell out. I wish I was able to get my hands on one. Sadly, that wasn't the case. But if we're looking at the different models, the blue is absolutely to die for out of all of them that I personally see. Me being an F1 fan, being a fan of Red Bull, Sergio Perez, Tag Heuer was always a brand I really wanted to get into, but considering its past, I didn't see it as a watch brand that I really wanted to get in the first place. It is a watch that I am going to be looking out for in 2023. Now, I do understand there's going to be a lot of watches that didn't hit on this list, but I did want to let you know that I am more than welcome to answer anything down in the comments down below. I know Zenith had some amazing stuff, Chopard had some amazing stuff, Hublot, we don't talk about Hublot, but other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing day. You guys stay safe. See you later.